that's right next to Southpoint Park. And neither one, and there are native New York plants that could have been used. Okay?
Tell me you didn't use it.
That's within the FDR Park.
What is it?
It's outside their fence.
Well, I think that's within the Pachysandra and the
Rosa
Ragusa, you know, are with
Well, it would,
Ragusa roses. But you know, I believe that's within their park.
okay,
That's
well,
within
let's
park.
look. Their
Okay.
fence. I would assume their fence would be on their landline. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it's not, then they planted on Southpoint land, and it's not native New York. And it would be really great if the land that joins would be native New York, because there's going to be plants running into each other, and we're having a hard enough time keeping the weeds out. We don't need invasive species brought over from Japan put there.
Or maybe this is Mount Fuji and the Catskills.
Right. And so now I see the two that are native New York, the Amelanchias, are going to be replaced with another plant that's not native New York. But that fence really has to come down. It's horrible, and that land is Southpoint Park, and the security, I don't think that that's a valid reason to block that off. Because if you look at it, there's a street there that has lighting on it that's very clear. And you're just moving a clear fence. It's not helping security. On the other side, I don't care so much, but it's ugly over there too. And I don't think that Southpoint should be giving up any more land to FDR. They have their space. We have ours. We've got plans for ours. And it shouldn't go that way. And just because I have to get out of here, I'm going to bring up the other thing. The security guy, I had a discussion with him. He wants to put a pole on the top of the hill in Southpoint Park with a 360-degree camera in it to photograph the park for security reasons. I don't know who's advising the police department on security, but security is usually done around perimeters. You don't have to put obnoxious cameras and poles in the middle of a park to get security. And plus, I don't think that the person who is going to make money from advising us on security camera installation should be the person advising us what we need. Because he has a vested interest to make as much money as he can and put as many cameras in as he can. And I really object to the idea of putting a pole on the middle of the hill with cameras in it.
Okay.
So, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have some fans in the room.
And I do look forward to working with you guys, but just gotta get rid of the fence.
And the roses.
And the roses, all the invasive stuff that's gonna drive me nuts.
But that,
Well, Trevor and Nina,
which is
here's what's going on here. Here's the process as I see it. Here's the process as I see it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We originally granted you guys the right to build. I'm not going to say your monument, it's our monument. I've been in favor of it since we moved to the island. Assume it's going to be there. You asked for a little bit of a variance so that you could tailor the entrance areas. And actually, you were off your reservation. Then we said yes. You asked to hang security equipment off Southpoint, off the Smallpox Hospital. We said yes, and that's another 15 or 20 feet north. You asked to put some trailers there, temporary. We said yes. You asked to put some security poles there, another 40 feet. We said yes. And from this, someone seems to have assumed that we had granted you control over those areas. And we didn't say yes to that because we were never asked. And then you put a fence across a piece of our property. I don't know if people are aware, just as a technical legal matter, we are under very strict constraints on the Public Authorities Accountability Act that we cannot dispose of property we control without a bidding process and so forth and so on. Excuse me. To allow you guys to control an area which you don't own or haven't been granted a right to, is that you're demanding as a fact that we cede control over this property at certain hours. I don't care, certain hours or all the time. Those sidewalks or side roads that go along the east and west side of Southpoint, of the Smallpox Hospital, are our property. And you don't have enough law or friends in high places to make us abrogate this responsibility if we choose to exercise it, which I'm sure we will. So I think as a first case, I want that fence down. That's just me. I'm not even sure. I thought originally when you said a fence that you're going to extend the chain link at the southern end of the Smallpox Hospital, left and right. And I was prepared to oppose that too on the grounds of the discussion that I introduced earlier, which was in response to the agenda item about hours. This is what I was, this hours thing. I think it's a screw up on somebody's part. I think you wasted money. And if it comes to a board vote, I think that a lot of members of the board would say, no, you can't do that. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. Gina, I'm sorry, it comes in the same category. You talked to the Wall Street Journal about taking over the Smallpox Hospital. You didn't talk to us about it. You keep proceeding on assumptions. Well, everybody here knows how I feel about assumptions. Every one begins with an ass. I'm sorry, that's not the way polite people say it, but it's me. You made an assumption, and you put up the fence. I'm trying to figure out if I'm just pissed off as a personal matter. I'm furious that you would dare to put up a fence across Roosevelt Island. What if you want to put up a fence across the middle of Eastwood? It's no different. You said, we're going to put up a fence here because we need a fence.
Okay, let me
End of ranch. End of ranch number 2.
Okay, well, there'll be a 3, I'm sure. I don't think there were any land grants. I don't think it was anything like that. I think these guys in good faith were trying to figure out how we could do the security here, and they come up with this idea. I don't like it either. And I'm not sure where the security problem, how it arose. I mean, we've never had a fence around there. Why do we need a fence
around the room?
around the room? I mean, we've had the regular little fence, but why was that not enough? Why do we need this that goes all the way across the island?
Oh, not around the ruin.
So then I'm looking at it wrong. So this doesn't go all the way around?
Yes.
There's a fence that goes all the way around the room, but that was
Okay.
always gonna
This
be
is
there.
the fence around the room.
It's already there.
This is
Okay.
the extension that goes west and the extension over that goes east.
Oh, we're looking at, I'm looking at it upside down.
That
This
closes.
is, hang on, okay, do this now. Okay, so this is our part here, okay, and this is the FDR part, and this is what I don't get. Why do you guys care if there's a fence here and here when your park is down here? No, that's what that's what I'm not getting. I'm not suggesting that you did it for anything other than security reasons. I think you did, but I
Exactly.
don't get why you wouldn't want it here and here.
Well,
As opposed.
from my understanding,
Okay.
they have their trailers and so forth, so when they wanted it here on the east side, kind of made more sense.
Okay.
Here, for security reasons, and it was really so we have added security for the ruins. As for, David, I just wanted to make the point that, the FDR Memorial is still on RIOC property. It's not like it's not our property. It's not the state's property.
Why are you telling me that? I told you that.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. But even within the FDR.
I understand perfectly
Okay,
well.
we made them developers,
But you were
but we
talking
still
about
have.
the legal right to
It's
get
not-
it.
yeah,
They're not
Yeah,
gonna
so
give
it's
it to
not
anybody.
like if
We don't have any
this was
ownership of the
strictly a
land.
security fence. Originally, we thought it was going to be here. They recommended, and they had some valid points. It kind of made sense at the time. We didn't give them the okay, but we said, okay, we'll address. Maybe it makes more sense. Maybe the ruins is more secured. It kind of there were pros and cons. We're going to bring it to obviously to the board, to committee, and so forth. When we saw the polls, when I saw the polls going up, I realized that hey, they jumped the gun.
Right.
And
So, I mean,
that's
I
what
can
it is.
speak
It's
to
not
putting
like we're
it there.
giving them the property. It was just for security reasons.
I can speak to putting
So-
it there. We felt that it would be, make it harder for people to climb into the ruin, which they are still doing, and our security guards are still chasing them out of there. The problem is that the interior walls in the ruin are still falling down. The interior brick walls are falling down. So if someone goes in there and gets hurt, everybody's gonna be sued. So we felt that it limited access to the ruin, and it was actually more of a protective effort of trying to keep people out of the area of the ruin.
So you put a fence there on your own to keep people out of the smallpox. That's why you put that fence there?
That's part of the reason why it is where it is. That's part of the reason why it is where it is. I mean, we talked to the RIOC staff about the issues with the differences in the hours. And obviously Southpoint Park is gonna be open till 10 p.m. at night. My understanding was always that the park was open dawn to dusk.
Me too.
So what it says on the website is that it's open till 10 p.m. So if you're gonna have Southpoint Park open till 10 p.m., I can't staff up the memorial piece adequately till 10 o'clock at night.
Well, we talked about that, in the context of our discussion about the maintenance agreement. We understand your problem there, but that's not,
I mean,
that's not the question you're answering now.
did you, I mean, we had a discussion with the staff. I said, look, I don't wanna be, you talked about, do you change the hours of Southpoint Park? I said, I don't wanna change the hours of Southpoint Park. If it's open till 10 p.m., it should be open till 10 p.m.
All right.
So
why are we discussing that now?
What do you mean?
I'm asking why you put the fence there instead of just fencing off the south end of the.
Because we were trying to make it easier to keep the smallpox hospital secure, so we
But that's
don't
not your
chase
job.
people out of the room.
But that's not your job, is it?
It's not our job, but we have people down there, so we felt that if they're gonna be there and there are people in the ruin, they do call public safety and say there's somebody in the ruin and, or they chase them out of there.
Well, calling public safety is anybody's responsibility if you see someone in the ruin. Chasing them out of there is not your job.
Maybe we need a better fence around the room.
Better fence around the ruin would be one idea, but that's our problem, that we put a better fence around the ruin. You put a fence in, and you say it's not a land grab, okay. That may sound intemperate when I say it's a land grab. If I hadn't seen that thing in the Wall Street Journal.
David, I don't think anybody that is on this island, could honestly claim that they don't know that I've talked about the possibility of coming to the board and asking about turning that into something that could be a usable space. I think you could ask just about everybody on the island and say that that's an idea that I hope to implement.
If it was in the Wall Street Journal, it was certainly not intended to be a secret. I mean, that's not, I'm not saying anything about that. I don't know why you're saying that back to me.
Well, I'm saying it because you make it sound like I'm doing something that I'm not supposed to be doing, or that I'm making a land grab. And I mean, honestly, I think that,
Absolutely right. I'm with you 100% up to the point where you fenced it off.
Okay, and I'm explaining to you that it was a miscommunication that we had. It was a miscommunication that we had. There's been a lot going on for us very intensely for the past couple of months to finish the construction, to get the park open to the public. I mean, I think
I'm sure you're in good faith every step of the way.
Now
take your fence down.
okay, so I mean, you can,
If I may,
fine, if you're gonna take the fence down, then we're gonna discuss how you're gonna help potentially to deal with the security issues.
There's no quid pro quo here. You take the fence down, and then we'll start talking.
So,
if I may, David,
we have to discuss security.
Practically,
Security is a real issue.
there's a practical reason why the fence is located where it is, and it hasn't. But if I may, we can. At the end, we may take the fence down and so on and relocate it. But to move it further south, as I recall the conversations, having a fence there would still have people gain access to the site because of the riprap, the FDR site. The riprap it extends out so that people can actually climb on the side and walk onto the riprap and gain access to the FDR site. So basically,
I understand that.
Okay, so by having it further north on the northern side of the smallpox hospital prevented that. So because no one can really, you have to go into the water in order to get into the site. So that's why it's from the seawall to the seawall, and then it's a big drop. So it was just a practical reason, and granted it was maybe a miscommunication or a misunderstanding, the timing was wrong, and we of course should have gone to the board before we proceeded with the work. But there was
Well,
a
it
logical
wasn't before I
reason.
proceeded with the work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was a miscommunication,
Right.
and they jumped the gun. It's,
Right, no, I understand.
Yeah.
But there's a practical reason also for the fence being where it is right now.
Did you ever hear the phrase walking the tunnel?
No.
You heard it from me. Every kid on this island of a certain age
Yeah.
walked through, walked the tunnel, walked through the subway tunnel before it was officially open. Now, that was a secure site. We finally tore down I understand the concern about the smallpox hospital, we finally tore down the city hospital after some kids were in there and they hurt themselves very badly climbing around. That's what kind of motivated us to, as Rosina, our president at the time, said, everybody talks about preserving the building, but there's no money for it, meanwhile kids are getting hurt. I understand the concerns about kids crawling the ruins. It's bad. The only reason I bring up the concept of walking the tunnel is, and I'll tell you, I was shocked to hear that both my kids, one time or another, had done it. I would have done it. In terms of using that fence to keep kids from getting down there, a dedicated graffiti, I don't care where you put the fence. Feed it to the kids. You know, if they want to write on your walls, you're going to write on your walls. There's other ways to keep them from writing on your walls. But being exclusionary isn't the reason. I understand there's always been a concern about how much fence do you put around the ruin to keep people out of there. It is valid, but don't try and sell me on you had to put the fence there to protect our ruins. We've got a fence there. We've done a pretty good job. You can put another fence. We can put a stone wall 30 feet high and extending 20 feet into the river on each side, and that would protect it even more. So what? So what?
Could we, we want them to move the fence back, and,
We haven't given permission for any fence. It's block access down there.
right there.
but in the meantime, until they get that other fence, can they just leave the security reasons so they don't block
So
off?
he's saying that we haven't got an okay to put that fence anywhere right now.
Yeah, what?
We don't have an agreement to put that fence anywhere right now, is what he's saying.
Do you want the fence moved back, or,
Down.
No, they just.
I don't want any fence at all.
or you don't want any fence at all?
But I'm telling you, I want that park go the same hour as Southpoint Park. I said that very early in this meeting, but I'm gonna lose that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so,
Well,
for now. I mean,
I'm happy to
eventually,
have it
yeah,
open
we
the
gotta
same
get
hours,
staff.
but then we're gonna have to have assistance with staffing of the park, because we can't afford it.
Yeah.
We can't afford it. So,
no, but sure, you have to have assistance from us.
well, yes.
I guess that's something that was overlooked.
So when we started at Southpoint Park with no we didn't know what hours you were going to be open either at that point.
But 5
Now
o'clock
we're-
is not.
Well, 5 o'clock right now is dark.
Yeah, 5 o'clock, it's
Okay,
pitch dark,
discuss. Okay, I mean,
pitch dark.
we should look at, going back to dawn to dusk for Southpoint Park, maybe that's the, solution. I
I'm
don't
so
know.
sorry, I have to go, because I have to go to this meeting about
Okay.
electricity in my house.
That's more important, really.
Well, I'm sorry,
No, it
but
really
I've
is.
been
I
without
understand.
electricity
I understand
since,
perfectly.
They also
so
have
I'm
fire
sorry,
hydrants.
very, very
serious
sorry.
this time.
Well, I can't, it's hard to
Yeah,
know.
I know, it's hard to tell.
Well, you better learn.
Okay, thank you, and I
All right.
apologize that I have to leave.
Oh.
Sorry, Dawn.
Lord. The riprap that they can get into, Fernando, is that just the Manhattan side? Where does the riprap start?
Both sides actually,
Both sides, yeah, and actually we need to.
because it extends out and it's flat. So,
It starts,
I'm sorry.
this is our part, this is south.
let me see, I'm sorry.
It's new riprap, isn't it?
So,
They should have thought of
this
that
is
when
the
they built it.
FDR Four
The riprap has to have certain
riprap is here, and this is like their
And when this is,
granite wall,
when it's done further
and
north,
all of this.
it may be the same
So,
problem
if it-
size.
if I may, can I run it?
I
extend
agree with you
here,
that.
and that's as far as you can go, someone can walk from here, right after the riprap, and bypass the whole fence, so it defeats the whole purpose of having the fence there anyway.
Down the riprap.
can't really put the fence all down to the riprap because you have to
You have
put
to
the
core,
fence into something.
yeah, you have to core drill into the riprap and they
There's
Yeah.
something else there, I mean,
We don't even want to.
So drilling into the riprap is hard.
I guess I have to look at